Hello everyone. You are on the channel dedicated to unraveling the deepest mysteries of horror cinema. Today, we're sinking our teeth into a theme as old as the night itself: vampire revenge. We all know the classic vampire tales: the brooding aristocrat, the Gothic castle, the unsuspecting victim. But what happens when the tables are turned? What happens when the hunter becomes the hunted, and the vampire, once a predator, is driven by a burning desire for vengeance? It's a fascinating twist on the genre, isn't it? The traditional vampire is a creature of instinct driven by hunger. But a vengeful vampire? That's a creature of intellect, of passion, and of calculated rage. Their motives become deeply personal, transforming them from a simple monster into a complex anti-hero, or an even more terrifying villain. This shift from pure predator to a being with a personal vendetta adds layers of psychological depth that elevates the entire story. The origin of this trope is hard to pinpoint to a single source, but its roots are tangled deep in Gothic literature and folklore. Think about it. Many early vampire legends were born from fear and misunderstanding. A person who died of a strange illness might be exhumed and found to look surprisingly preserved. To the terrified villagers, this was proof of undeath. The act of staking them, of desecrating their grave, could be seen as a profound betrayal. It's not a huge leap to imagine a story where that vampire returns not just to feed, but to exact revenge on those who disturbed their rest. This concept of post-mortem justice is a powerful one. It taps into our primal fears about death and what lies beyond, but also into our innate sense of fairness. If someone is wronged in life, or even in death, don't they deserve to get even? The vengeful vampire becomes the ultimate embodiment of that idea, a supernatural force for retribution. They are the ultimate payback, a nightmare brought to life by a past sin. As this theme moved from folklore into literature and film, it began to evolve. One of the most iconic influences, though not a direct revenge story, is Bram Stoker's Dracula. Dracula's move to England is an act of expansion, but it's fueled by a centuries-old aristocratic pride and a desire to conquer new lands, a kind of macro-level ambition. When Van Helsing and his crew begin to hunt him, destroying his resting places and turning his brides against him, Dracula's actions become increasingly personal and vicious. His attacks on Lucy and Mina aren't just for sustenance, they're punishments. They are acts of defiance against those who dare to challenge his power. He is, in a sense, taking revenge for their interference in his grand design. This laid the groundwork for future creators to explore the revenge motive more explicitly. Think about how this changes the narrative. Instead of a group of brave heroes hunting a monstrous evil, the story often starts with an act of aggression against the vampire. Perhaps their family was murdered, their human love was taken from them, or they themselves were turned against their will and now seek to destroy their own maker. This simple change in motivation completely flips our perspective as an audience. Suddenly, we might find ourselves sympathizing, even rooting for the vampire. They are no longer just a monster, they are a victim fighting back. This creates a fascinating moral ambiguity. Can we cheer for a creature that drinks blood and takes lives even if their cause feels just? This is the kind of complex question that makes for truly compelling storytelling. The line between hero and villain becomes beautifully, terrifyingly blurred. Let's look at some fantastic examples from film and television. A perfect place to start is the Blade trilogy. The character of Blade is the ultimate vengeful vampire, or rather a half-vampire. His mother was bitten while pregnant with him, turning him into a daywalker with all of a vampire's strengths but few of their weaknesses. His entire existence is a crusade of revenge against the species that cursed him and killed his mother. He's not just protecting humanity. He's on a deeply personal quest to eradicate every last vampire from the face of the earth. His rage is palpable, his mission is clear, and we are with him every step of the way. Then there's the classic film Interview with the Vampire, based on Anne Rice's brilliant novel. While Louis is the narrator, the character of Lestat is a masterclass in vengeful narcissism. When Louis and Claudia conspire to destroy him, Lestat's return isn't just about survival. It's about wounded pride. It's a furious theatrical act of revenge against his own fledglings who dared to betray him. Later in the book series, The quest for revenge becomes even more central, as ancient vampires awaken to punish younger generations for perceived slights. Rache understood that for beings who live for eternity, grudges can last just as long. Television has also given us some incredible examples. In The Vampire Diaries, the entire storyline of the original vampires, the Michelson family, is steeped in revenge. They seek vengeance against werewolves for the death of their youngest brother, against their own parents for turning them into monsters, and most of all against each other for centuries of betrayal. Klaus Michelson, in particular, is a character almost entirely defined by his paranoia and his swift, brutal acts of revenge against anyone he perceives as an enemy. His actions are monstrous, yet the story gives us glimpses into the 1,000 years of pain and loss that fuel his rage, making him a deeply tragic and compelling figure. Another great example is the character of Angel from Buffy the Vampire Slayer and his own spin-off series. When he loses his soul and reverts to his evil alter ego, Angelus, his actions are pure, sadistic revenge against Buffy, the Slayer who loved him. He doesn't just want to kill her. He wants to psychologically torture her to destroy everything she loves. It's a horrifying and personal form of vengeance that shows just how terrifying a spurned vampire can be. His journey is then a quest for redemption, a way of atoning for those very acts of revenge. So what makes this theme so enduring? Why do we keep coming back to stories of vampires seeking payback? I think it's because it humanizes the monster. Revenge is a deeply human emotion. We've all felt wronged at some point. We've all fantasized, even for a fleeting moment, about getting even. The vengeful vampire takes that fantasy to its ultimate supernatural conclusion. They have the power, the immortality, and the ruthlessness to carry out a revenge that we can only dream of. Furthermore, these stories serve as powerful cautionary tales. They often explore the cyclical nature of violence and how revenge, no matter how justified it may seem, rarely leads to peace. The vampire might achieve their goal, they might destroy their enemy, but are they ever truly satisfied? Or does the act of vengeance corrupt them further, turning them into the very thing they once hated? Often, the pursuit of revenge costs the vampire the last vestiges of their humanity, leaving them empty and alone for eternity. This tragic outcome is a poignant reminder that true justice and personal peace are rarely found at the bottom of a bloody chalice. The visual storytelling of a vampire's revenge is also incredibly cinematic. The contrast between the cold, calculated planning and the explosive, violent execution is visually stunning. The dark, gothic aesthetic of the vampire world provides the perfect backdrop for these tales of simmering rage and bloody retribution. The imagery of the vampire, once a symbol of forbidden desire, becomes a symbol of righteous fury. It's a powerful and visually dynamic transformation. In the end, the theme of the vengeful vampire forces us to look beyond the fangs and the cape. It asks us to consider the soul, or lack thereof, within the monster. It challenges our notions of good and evil, justice and retribution. By giving the vampire a motive we can understand, even if we can't condone their methods, these stories make them more terrifying, more tragic, and infinitely more interesting. They remind us that the greatest monsters are often the ones we create ourselves, through our own acts of cruelty and betrayal. The vampire's revenge is often just the echo of a human sin, returning from the grave to demand a final, terrible price. What are your favorite examples of a vengeful vampire in fiction? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to read your thoughts. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the dark heart of horror. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next deep dive into the macabre. Until next time, stay curious and watch your necks.